Thanks again for joining us. Hello and welcome. I'm Megan Moeller, a productivity enthusiast here at ActivTrak, and I get to be your tour guide of sorts for today. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. I'm so glad to have you. I'm so glad you're here. And I also took a look at some of the people who have joined us, and I noticed some people who have come back. So welcome back. Thank you again for coming. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go and see if I can see some survey results from y'all to see what everyone's biggest challenge is, and then we'll go ahead and we will jump in to today's content. So I am just pulling this up right now. All right. Okay. So when it comes to your biggest challenge for AI, it looks like AI governance and compliance, 36.4% right now. We've got AI adoption, maturity, and benchmarks, 27.3%, with task efficiency and automation also at 27.3%. And then the last one is around AI spend efficiency with 9.1%. So I think that's really good backdrop for what we're going to be talking about today. And so with that, I would really love to invite our speakers on today. We have our Chief Product Officer, Javier Aldrete, with us today, coming in from Mexico, actually, to join us, which is awesome. Thank you so much for joining us while you're down there. And then we also have Suzanne Carroll, our VP of Product, with us as well. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you two to take our session away for today.
Great. Thank you, Megan. We're very, very excited to be here. And as Megan mentioned, I'm happy to be traveling, visiting family, but that's why you see the colorful background. But we're very excited to share with you the capabilities, the use cases, the challenges that we're hearing from our customers around AI and how it's working, how it's getting embedded into businesses. To set us up, just to remind us, the audience that might not be very familiar with ActivTrak, we are a platform that identifies a number of insights that we transform into work intelligence in different use cases, from AI adoption and impact, which is going to be a lot of the discussion today, to how people can be more productive and identify areas of improvement, whether it has to do with technology usage or AI usage or training and enablement, all the way to things like workflow optimization. How do you redesign workflows? How do you streamline particular tasks and processes? Where can you automate? All the way to workforce management in the form of, hey, are we getting schedule adherence? Are we managing properly attendance? Are we reconciling timesheets against real-time work? So we have a gamut of different use cases and capabilities around our work intelligence platform. And so what we're going to focus on today mostly is on the first three boxes of this diagram, where basically AI is becoming an accelerator, an enablement tool on affecting how people work more productively, how people can automate workflows. And so we're very, very excited being in the middle of all of this with you all and our beautiful clients. And as we jump into that, let's start with what we're hearing, right? We always want to start with you all, with what we're hearing from people like yourself. And we work with different roles, different functions in our implementations. You can see here that, for instance, CTOs ask questions around compliance. Hey, AI is everywhere. AI is so easy to get. How do we make sure that people are not forgetting and blurring the lines and using their personal account or their personal tool to ask business questions or perform business activities, and therefore putting the business at risk because they might be uploading certain data to it? Right, that's a very common question, and Suzanne is going to dive into our capabilities in that area.
This is coming up all the time for customers. I was talking to a legal firm the other day who said this exact same thing. Now they're hyper aware because they're in legal, but across all industries, if you're using personal AI tools, that's really putting the corporation at risk because of all of that data going up there and not being able to control or see it.
That's right, and we'll share some specific examples, as what Suzanne is mentioning, as we go through the capabilities and how our clients, our customers are shaping what those features become and how they evolve and to be more comprehensive, because we're all in the learning phase, in the productizing phase of AI, which leads me to the second question, which is, hey, I want to know how AI is actually impacting productivity. I heard it has a great promise. I'm putting a lot of money on this, but what is the right recipe to do that? Is it just give everybody AI, or do I need to change how they understand it, how they use it? Do I need to train them more? How are we going to learn from people that figure out great recipes, great formulas? We always have that person that in the team that already is in the forefront of adopting new technology. How do we learn from them, right? So that's a question that we usually get from operations leaders. And then the other side of that coin is, great, I've been paying for AI now for the last 2 years, in some cases, the CFOs. What am I getting in exchange? It sounds great. Everybody loves it. Everybody's excited about it. They're all amazed about the technology. But what are we getting out of it? Are we saving money? Are we making money? Are we producing faster, better, higher quality? How could I justify this investment? Because some of these bills are getting really expensive, right? Especially if you are like us, we've experimented with all sorts of tools in all sorts of areas to figure out what works. And we need to start consolidating and figuring out what is our standard. What is the way in which we get economies of scale with our investments, and where are we underutilizing money that we're paying, right? And that's, if you're anything like us, CFOs are going to start asking more and more of that, because it's real money, it's real expensive in some scenarios. And last but not least, where we have chief AI officers, chief transformation officers, what they're asking is, okay, great, we're making people faster, awesome. We're making them produce higher quality outputs, beautiful. Now, where can I automate so I don't need as many people as I usually need to keep growing, right? How can I do more with the number of people that we have by automating or streamlining or delegating some work to AI, right? And so all these angles are very, very valuable for their own purposes. And us at ActivTrak have been working diligently at providing capabilities to solve all these different questions, right? And we have organized these capabilities or these different use cases in this way. And these are the 5 ways that we have identified that people are not only trying to measure AI impact or figure out where, but also optimize the use of AI, the AI to produce better results, to save money, to make money, to grow the company, to have better consistent performance. And this is going to be how we're going to present the rest of the meeting today, or the webinar today, is we're going to walk through each of these 5 ways to optimize and measure AI impact. And Susanna is going to help us cover the first 2 here, AI governance and compliance, which gets into those risk elements that Susanna was describing in the first one, and then move into how do we measure beyond just people that logged in. How do we measure beyond who is used it or accessed it yesterday, and get deeper into who is delegating work to AI, who is embedding AI into their workflows, right? How is that progressing? Which leads to the part that I'll cover as she hands back to me, is the AI impact part. Okay, we see these different levels of adoption. Is it freeing up capacity? Is it saving us money? Is it producing better performance? There is all sorts of elements there that will show you how we're solving that problem. To then get into task automation and task efficiency, which we'll talk about what we call workflow optimization. And then we'll finalize with AI spend efficiency. This is the CFO question. Hey, great, I'm seeing how adoption is moving. I'm seeing how it's impacting areas. How does that translate to dollars and cents and ROI for us? Okay, so we're very excited to share all of that with you. And with this, I'm going to hand it over to Suzanne to get us going with the demo.
Before you jump in, Suzanne, real quick, I just wanted to say I have been watching those survey responses, and they're actually changing a little bit based on more people putting in their feedback, which is awesome. So If you've just joined us, you've got that survey over in the top right around your biggest challenge when it comes to AI. Would love your feedback. And I will make sure that after this session in the follow-up email, we will include the final results from the full poll, so that people can take it throughout the session and as people continue to join, because we know people have to add and drop and things like that.
What is the leaderboard saying right now?
Right now, the leaderboard is actually at task efficiency and automation at 34%. So it kind of jumped. So anyway, just wanted to jump in there with some real-time updates, and I'll turn it back over to Suzanne. Thanks, y'all.
So you should be able to see my screen now. Is that right?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so let's take a look at AI Insights. So let me show you where we are in the app. So if you go under Executive Summaries and AI Insights, this is an add-on. We're in early access now, and if you're interested in it, let us know. What I'm showing today is just looking right now at the compliance tab, multiple tabs under here showing some really good information. I'm looking at the last 3 months for a couple of our teams here. In particular, what I want to look at is where are the tools that are unapproved and how much of a risk is that to our team, to our company, things like that. So we all know that there's a number of tools, at least within ActivTrak, and a number of our customers are doing the same thing, that are approved, that are sanctioned by the organization. They're paying for it. They're saying these are safe. It's safe to use these. So we have, with these two teams, just under 60 approved AI tools, just a ton of them, and 95% are being used of the 62 that have been discovered completely. Of those, 46 of them are approved and 3 are not. So you can see those 3 that are not approved right here. What's interesting here is you'll see that there's not very many users using those. And they're not using them for a very long time. So they're looking at them and then walking away, which is great. So to me, that indicates that, yes, there's 4 users out there using unapproved AI, and there's 3 different tools, but these numbers are quite low, and the usage is quite low. So that says there's no shadow tools being used within our organization. If there were, both these numbers were quite large, that's when we'll see there's a number of people going around the governance, going around the approved and unapproved tools. And you can dig into it a little bit more with understanding who is not using those approved AI tools and who is just using the unapproved. Unapproved, in order to get this, is just unproductive in our classification. So it's pretty
Suzanne,
easy.
We did have a question around, how are we able to sort of detect the difference between a personal, which would be kind of like a shadow, right? Like use of ChatGPT, for example, or like an actual like work sanctioned approved ChatGPT. How does that show up?
That's a great question. And I think we've seen it a number of different times. My understanding is we can do that a little bit through analyzing through the title bar. Javier, do you know of a better way to do that within our tools?
Yeah, so I think there are two flavors of that. There is the scenario where there is clearly a version of the tool or a tool that you're using that is not sanctioned. That's the simplest term, right? When your sanctioned tool is Copilot and you're using ChatGPT, that's super easy to call out. When you have the same tool used in 2 different contexts, usually where we get into the differentiation is through the title bar or sometimes through the domain. Because in part of the domain, there will be a company name dot the name of the tool that gets put in there, and that's the way you can differentiate the personal version versus the non-personal version.
That's right. Yeah, so you look into the details of each of these tools to figure that out, but most of the time you can definitely use the unapproved versus approved, or if you have ChatGPT that's approved for corporate use, and then there's personal, you'll have to look into the details for each individual and how they're using that. But this makes it very easy to go see who's using what and how. What I also like about this information is you can see it over time to see how frequently those unapproved items are being used. And you can see over the last month, we don't have any unapproved tool usage, which is great. So they kind of looked around and walked away and are primarily using this approved AI within these two teams, our engineering and tech and product teams.
Yeah, that chart, Suzanne, is it true that it's basically your heat map, if you will, right? If things are becoming more green, less red, that's good. If you only see green later, that means that you've gotten a hold of your compliance and governance.
Exactly. Yeah, it's nice to look at this data from a longer time period as opposed to a week or a month, so that way you can really see how it's changing over time and understanding. We had a few different tools in June that were being used that were unapproved, but now we've come back into compliance and we're much lower risk now. All right, the next thing I want to walk you through and show you is another tab within the same report. So we're still in AI Insights. We're now looking at adoption. And I'm looking now at the last 90 days for the same teams, looking at a couple of different things here. One, all of the tools by usage and these top ones. So you can see up here, a lot of users are using Claude. 26% of their usage there is using Claude, which is an approved tool that we're using. And it's also split into the desktop versus the web app. So you can see those. If I scroll down a little bit, you can see this tool Cursor. I know a number of our engineers are using this. It's 15 users who are there using it, but a significant amount of time. So low adoption across the full team, but very actively being used. Now, this could mean that there's a skills gap, right? That some members are using it and some aren't. But I know specifically that this is something from that engineers are using and only a specific type of task that they're doing there. So it makes sense that it's a lower number of users with a significant amount of time who are using it. Then you get into others like Granola here. A lot of people are using it, but they're not spending a lot of time in it. So it's just running in the background to see those items. Then if I go over here to the right-hand side and I look at these adoption maturity stages, what you can think of is 0, this red, meaning they're not using it at all. Stage 1, this is really looking at, they're doing a little bit of research there. They're using it sporadically, maybe for analysis, writing, tasks like that, but not necessarily fully embedded into a workflow. Then we've got a number of users here in stage 2 where they're using it for a lot of task execution. So accomplishing things faster and easier. And then finally, we have one user right now, or for this 90-day period, that are in stage 3, which means it's fully integrated into their workflow. Andrew's using it on a regular basis to minimize the work that's going on there. And you can see he's using it over an hour and a half per day with lots of interactions there and across 5 different tools, which is really interesting. Now, in that last chart, we could see over time how it changed. And what I like to do in this one is take a look. Okay, so we can see Vinny's up here, stage 2. He's creeping up on Andrew on that. Let's change it to the last 30 days and look specifically now. All right, so Vinny's climbed up. We've got a new contender, Felipe, right up there. They're starting to use this more regularly. They've matured into stage 3, really starting to use it for different agents, that automating the work and making sure that they have really using their time productively, minimizing the amount of time that they have to do individual tasks by having AI do it for them. And then we can also see that Andrew slipped down a bit. So his usage dropped just a bit down into stage 2, but he's still using AI quite a bit as one of those who are using it on a regular basis for that task execution. So really interesting ways to think about this and to look at this data, especially when you consider in context with all of the other work that they're doing there. scroll down a little bit, we could just see that those trends there as well. So we dipped down a bit in July. If I move this back to the last 90 days, we'll probably see more of that information and how it's grown and kind of stabilized over the last month or so. All right, so we're going to move on and back to you, Javier, so you can talk more about AI impact.
Thank you, Suzanne. Very exciting. Thank you for sharing that. And as you noticed, one of the key findings that we're seeing working with our customers is that a large percentage of team members are still in that stage 0, which means no usage, and or stage 1, which is, I would call it dabbling on AI, right? Using it sporadically, but not fully yet to the point where it's become your coworker, right? Where you start delegating tasks to it or you start embedding into the workflow. But we see that progressing over time. And that's part of what we provide visibility into, because it varies widely from role to role, team to team, department to department. And that's where the AI Insights Trend Report and the different stage mapping helps our clients figure that out and figure out where they need to do more training, where they need to establish certain programs, where they need to find champions within teams that can help drive that. And so that's the first part of the capability. Now, from a customer-based perspective, most of our clients like yourselves are looking at that type of capability at this stage, which is, hey, I'm going to get my arms around compliance and adoption. And that's kind of what I would call your first 1 or 2 stops, right? In terms of how you start getting your arms around it and decide what to do. The next thing that we're working with a few of our clients on is the notion of what is the impact that AI has on key metrics that I care about, whether they are productivity metrics, performance metrics, utilization metrics. So let me share my screen to describe how that looks like. So what I'm showing you right now is the version of AI Insights, but in this particular version, we are combining it with other data sets, not just the data that we provide out of the box by our own capturing and our own intelligence and our own integrations, but one that starts getting deeper into how does it affect ultimately what people want is performance. Okay, so let me walk you through the components of this dashboard. So what you're seeing here in this interface is the version of ActivTrak that is available through Power BI. We have templates for all the major BI tools and the ability to integrate with BI tools, as well as even with LLMs. And I'll share the LLM output in the second part of my demo. But in this particular case, what we're doing is combining the same data metrics or key metrics that Suzanne shared of maturity of adoption distribution. So you see here stage 0, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. But then we're adding some other key elements. Utilization, that means the amount of people spent on business activities against their productivity goals. So that's a construct of ActivTrak, as you know. Efficiency, which is the amount of time or the percentage of time people are spending on core activities for each role, and that's configurable by role. Like for developers, it would be probably coding tools, IDEs, and others. For maybe designers, it's the tools like Figma or Adobe. For sellers, it's CRM and so forth and so on. And so that's where we're calculating an efficiency. And then performance is the ultimate part of the single pane of glass that we're showing you here, which is how does that change their key output metrics. For developers, that might be pull requests or cycle time. For support teams, that might be cases closed and CSAT. For sellers, it's quota attainment and so forth, right? So we have this framework that allows you to not only get the whole visibility of AI adoption, but also combine it with ActivTrak metrics like utilization and efficiency, and all the way to performance metrics that come from other systems, whether that's Jira or Salesforce or Zendesk or any of the different tools that your different folks use, all the way to even manager reviews. So if you have performance ratings that you do on an annual basis or a semi-annual basis, you can plug those in, and then we'll rationalize all of that or normalize that to the concept of performance, with the aim of being able to analyze what is the impact the different levels of usage and maturity of AI have against these key components. And you can see some examples here, just to start with that first one that you see here, platform engineering, that's a software developer role. And what we're seeing here is that AI has had no impact on utilization and efficiency. That means that their efficiency was the same regardless of the level of adoption of AI. However, we're seeing a significant gain in their performance, meaning they're spending the same amount of time on things, but they're getting better outputs. So AI is having an increased productivity impact here. And if you click on that particular row, you can see in the bottom of this chart how much that is affecting on KPIs. That's the performance element. So that means 11 points more, 19 points more, 18 points more, whereas there is little impact on the other columns here of utilization and efficiency, right? And so this is the ultimate question that our clients are asking for, which is, okay, great, I made all these investments. What am I getting in return? Is it free time because utilization went down and therefore I can give them more work? Is it more efficient work, or is it better performance, right? And so we do that for every role because this is a role by role construct, because different roles adopt different tools in different ways, right? So to give you another example, I'm going to now move into tier 1 support. In this case, they're accelerating performance. They're seeing a little bit of a moderate gate there on that, whereas a tier 2 support team are seeing a significant gain in utilization, meaning they're working fewer hours and they're getting more efficient, but the total final performance is the same, right? So that means that they might be able to take on more work and still have the same levels of performance, right? And so ultimately, the last column and certainly the 3 columns below that, before that, are what our clients are looking for, which is what is the true impact of AI and where do I invest more and where do I need to do better job? In some cases, the answer is there is no impact. And that on itself is a very valuable finding because it means you're spending a lot of money on AI and training, but nothing is happening. So you need to revisit that, right? And so that is the key construct behind this. And of course, I'm showing you how you can click on each role and see differences in trends of how the impact on performance is happening or the impact on the different metrics that we're analyzing here. But the key here, the key message I want to give you is that this is something you should look at on a role-by-role basis because AI really is very role-specific because of the different workflows are very pertain to each role. You're not going to have a one-size-fits-all.
Hey, Javier, we had a question that I think you're going to love that came in. And the question was, how will AI that is embedded natively in applications be trackable? And the example that they shared was Oracle embedding AI in the database platforms.
That's a great question. So right now, we capture a lot of the AI interactions that humans have with AI interactions by way of just looking at the executable or the website that they're doing and that being an AI predominant tool. Think ChatGPT, think Gemini, and so forth. The embedded component has been a little bit of a gap that we have had, but we're about to release a version of our agent that is able to understand and visualize the embedded interactions that humans have with AI inside other tools, whether that's the example you mentioned. Inside Oracle, you have a little chat bot or chat box where you're conversing with an LLM. Copilot is another great example. Copilot inside Office 365 or Gemini inside Google Docs. Those are great examples of embedded AI, and we're very excited to share that in a few weeks, we'll have that available for our clients so that they have that extra visibility into that embedded AI. And in terms of customer requests, that together with what I'm showing you right now, which is what is the impact on performance, are the 2 top requests that we have heard since we started the beta program with AI Insights. And we're going to keep adding capabilities for you all to get not only full visibility of interactions, but full impact understanding of how this changing not only behaviors, which is what you see by utilization and efficiency, but outcomes, which is what you see in the performance column.
That's awesome. Thank you, Javier.
Great question. Any other questions, Megan, while we're on this topic?
No, I think you can go ahead and proceed.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to show you a very quick vignette on this next screen, which is, I was showing you some support examples. This is a drill down dashboard to the one that I was showing you that gives you the components of that. of how the CSAT first resolution rate, tickets resolved for a tier one support engineer has an effect by levels of adoption of AI, stage 0, 1, 2, and 3. Stage 0 means no usage versus 1, 2, and 3. And so you can see this understanding on where is AI making a difference on these key metrics. So this is what's behind that summarized view that I show you of performance. These are the 3 metrics behind that performance column, just to show you where it's coming from, right? And so imagine that you would engage with us to help us integrate into the different pieces that constitute performance, because that's the other thing. Different clients use different metrics to measure that performance column, and that's why we make this very flexible to integrate with. Okay. Now I'm going to switch gears just in the interest of time from moving away a little bit from AI impact or direct AI impact into a different of the use cases, which is the use case of task identification and workflow efficiency, workflow automation. I saw that some comments in the chat that some people were very interested in that. So let me jump into that without further ado. But before I get into the output and the intelligence and recommendations that we make, I want to show you a little bit of scaffolding of what's behind what I'm about to show you. So you're familiar, or many of you are familiar with what ActivTrak captures, right? Which is how people are proceeding between different digital activities and how they're moving between applications and websites and all of that. On top of that, we enrich that data to identify tasks and work types. And that's what you're seeing here as an example for a software engineer, where we're translating the type of applications they're spending time on, like GitHub, that's technical or development work, Slack, that's communication, meetings, that's Zoom, collaboration, that's Slack, administrative, and so forth. And we're able to parse that out through a combination of the tools that they're using and the understanding of their roles, so that we can parse that and try to understand and pick up what are the likely tasks and workflows that they're having, and how does that progress through the day. And this is a higher level view with a bunch of tags in there. This is more of giving you the explanation of how we derive what I'm about to show you next. But this is the type of insights and enrichment that we put on top of our activity data to then go and produce specific recommendations for different use cases. This is the example of understanding and identifying repetitive sequences of tasks and workflows. And the reason for this is to identify where there could be either automation opportunities or where there could be skills training that because there has been identified frictionful sequences or sequences that are time sinks, right? If people are traversing between different applications over and over every day, that's really a good sign of where you can go and deploy either RPA or AI to automate and streamline. So this example that I'm showing you here is for a sales team, and we have identified 6 different sequences that happen at high rate and frequently, right? And so you can see here the tags high frequency for these 2, which is manual contract transfer loop, manual financial reconciliation loop, where we're seeing these sequences happening over and over, and adding to a monthly cost of 40 hours per individual or 30 hours per individual. And then you can see other examples here, manual campaign, a sales campaign, end of month close, scheduling coordination, prospecting lookup, right? So we're showing you 6 examples here, but these are the types of insights that we can produce based on the activity information that we gather. We're able to find out where these hotspots or these heat maps of where things are happening over and over. There can be great opportunities to go and either redesign the workflow to make it more streamlined, have fewer steps, fewer tools involved, or where you can actually apply AI or RPA to automate. And in the outcome or the benefit for you if you do that is you can get a sense of what is the hour cost or the monthly cost in terms of hours from a human that you could save and reallocate to other processes or to support more customers or to sell to more customers, in this case of a sales team, right? So this is the type of insights that we produce related to workflow optimization using the intelligence that we derive out of the activity that we collect. And I know there were some questions at that, Megan. I'm pausing to see if there are other questions related to this topic in the audience.
Not seeing any new ones, so I think that you probably got them thinking is what is what I'm thinking. We'll see if some come in here though, because sometimes it takes a beat to get those
No,
in.
of
So
course.
I'll
Well,
let you know.
And let me use this time to describe what we believe our role is in this use case. The first part is discovery, which is what I'm showing you here. We discover all these areas where there is friction, where there is opportunity to automate, where there is a lot of manual work, administrative work, and that helps inform whether you go and again do an automation, do training, or hey, why are people not adhering to our SOPs? Right? They should follow steps 1, 2, and 3, and I'm seeing them go into different sequences. Why? Right? So and then they're going to go and deploy solutions to that. Where that's not from ActivTrak, of course, but solutions like RPA, like AI, or training, or process redesign, right? But then you go back after you made that change and reanalyze the data that ActivTrak is looking at to see, did things change? Did things get better? Did this went from 6 to now only 3 sequences that were identified? And are they, some of them recurring because they're still happening and they were not fixed? And maybe we also found some new ones. And this is a virtuous cycle because we see this happening over and over, right? Like this type of work is never done because whenever you fix something, there is a whack-a-mole effect that something else shows up of things that you need to address. And the reason this is becoming so interesting and important to our clients today is because AI is the ultimate unlock that they want to deploy to solve these type of problems. And our job in that equation is to discover where you should deploy AI or other tools more traditional like RPA to solve that.
Awesome.
We have had a big wave of requests in this area because of that promise from AI.
Absolutely. And we do have a couple of questions here for you.
Okay.
How are you detecting repetitive workflows? Does it require any other functionality or anything like that? How are you detecting that using this?
Yeah, so the sausage making part of that equation is the heart of it is activity that we collect today. So those of you that are familiar with ActivTrak are familiar with a construct called the activity log, right? Mm-hmm. So the activity log has a lot of that richness already. And so what we're doing on top of that is we're doing more enrichment and more deploying our own AI algorithms on top of that to parse out when we're seeing this repeat frequencies, this fractal movement between steps and things that we see happening over and over. As you know, AI is great at detecting those patterns and parsing what is repetitive versus one off. And so that's what we're using, basically a combination of a construct that we have had for a number of years. On top of that, we're applying our own algorithms to detect these sequences and tie them to a role to identify what's happening, which is some of what I showed you a second ago of this kind of translation into digital activity, into tasks, that then we're able to find that happening in repeat fashion and associating time with it. As you know, one of our constructs is the concept of time span or duration. And so those 3 elements is what we use to derive these type of capabilities.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And you've mentioned this a couple of times, and I know we have some newer, I see some newer customers on, I see some people who aren't, maybe customers yet on, and then I see some, longtime customers. But so this is maybe, just kind of a little bit of an awareness. You've mentioned a little bit about, role specific access, roles, teams, process. Someone was curious, like, how do you actually segment or differentiate, by those things, role, team, and process for these things to be able to get this visibility?
That's a great question. We have 3 methods. Method number 1 is a number of our customers actually group the employees or the workers by team, by department, or by role. So in other words, they create role groups in our interface or through our interface. And that is the way in which we can do that. And you can do that manually in our interface or through our HRIS integration or through our Azure AD integration or through our Scheme API, right? So in other words, you give us that role information, that team information, that department information. The second part is we have an HRIS integration where the actual role or title could be present. And that's another signal for us to send us that type of information that we can use to say, okay, well, these 5 titles are a similar job family, and therefore they're part of the same kind of role and function. And then the third element is we actually also have our AI algorithms that, based on the technology that they're using and the team that they belong to, we're able to derive and estimate what their role is. That last one is a little less deterministic as the first two, but it's very valuable because in most cases, 95% of the times we get them right. And that's a great sign that when you don't send us that role or you don't tell us explicitly that role, we can derive it ourselves based on the types of tools that they're using and the types of activity we're seeing digitally.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Last topic before we hand it back to Megan to close us out here is the notion of the AI spend intelligence. And this is similar to what some of you have already used for years with ActivTrak, which is we have this notion of technology utilization and technology optimization, where we compare usage against your license cost, and we're able to discern where you have waste, basically, right? Which is what you see in this particular dashboard. By the way, I didn't mention this, but this dashboard output actually was generated through an LLM, Claude, to be more precise, sitting on top of our MCP server, which is basically a way to expose as an API our data into an LLM that helps us combine our data set with other data sets. In this case, what we're doing is combining our data set, our activity data set, with an MCP server from other tools, in this case, Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, so that we're able to coordinate two data sources or two types of data sources. It's more than two data sources, but two types of data sources to produce how much licenses do I have? How much am I paying for against how much am I using it, right? Because in some cases, you have scenarios like here where you have 142 seats that you paid Copilot for, but only 38 are consistently active, right? Because sometimes you contract with certain vendors in a licensed fashion. In other cases, you're using it through a pay-per-use or a consumption method. And so we're able to combine that consumption method measurement against what we're seeing as a benchmark so that you can find where you have gaps there and where maybe you're using the wrong model or the more expensive model to solve a problem that might be easier to solve in a different way. And ultimately, the aim of all of this is not only to help explain by team, by role, what is the usage levels, right, of the different tools and the different models, but also what are the recommended actions, right? In Copilot, you might want to renew with lower number of licenses. In Gemini, you might negotiate to a different number. And on ChatGPT and Anthropic, you're fine, right? Continue as you're going, right? So that is our job here. But the key element of this, for this to work, is you need to combine the data sets, right? You need to combine the ActivTrak data set of usage with some of the signals and the information that you get from these particular tools. Now, replace for you, somebody mentioned Oracle earlier, right? Replace Microsoft with Oracle in the case of that particular customer that mentioned that. And the same concept applies, which is how do we help you identify where you might have opportunities to save money from a usage perspective or a license perspective with these vendors? Okay. With that, I can send it back to you, Megan, if there are no questions.
Doesn't look like there are any that have come in, but I'm going to go ahead and say we do have a couple more things that we are going to show, and we do actually have a bonus as well. So please hang on a few more minutes, and we will share that as well with everyone. So thanks again for everyone who took that initial survey that's been over on the right. If you haven't had a chance to chime in there, go ahead and you can pop in your answer there. But I did want to follow up just because, obviously these were the things that we actually did talk about today. And I'm very curious of what Suzanne and Javier showed you today. What are you most excited about? What do you think is really going to have the most impact on your business that you're really looking forward to based on what you've seen today? I feel like today is one of the most comprehensive views that we've shared of what's here, what's kind of on the horizon, and that, you can work with us as far as that AI Insights add-on or work with our services team to start getting access to these things. We know this is a real problem today. So just really curious to see where people are after seeing what we showed you. We know that showing can, really help crystallize the picture of what you can do and inspire you to think about, maybe what is possible or maybe what you should talk to us about, which I do want to remind you that our account teams are always here to help you think through some of these things. We have other resources like our productivity lab, who is also, a part of our team that can look into things, help you think about how you set things up, and things like that. So I just want to remind all of you of those things. So I'm going to give you just another second or two to go ahead and answer this. And then we can move on, and then we can do one more question for you, and then we can move on to the bonus, which will be great. So curious to see, Javier and Suzanne, what were the things that they talked about today that really excited you most? So if you can go ahead and let me know. I see some people popping in answers. If you don't respond, I'm going to just tell them that they did a terrible job. So I hope I don't have to deliver that news.
We have a little bit of a competitive edge here of like who had the most compelling things we showed,
Exactly. I don't want to be the one who says, they didn't do so great. People are not excited. But I know I was watching some of it, and most of this I've seen, but some of it was new. So super excited to see what other people say. Okay, I'm going to close this out. The future of Javier and Suzanne is on the line here, everyone. Let's get it in. No pressure, but all the pressure. Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and let's take a look. All right. Looks like people, okay. Not surprising. The top, what in that survey onto the right about the biggest challenge was around task efficiency and automation. And so it sounds like the content delivered on, kind of piquing that interest and maybe solving that challenge. So, with that, I did want to say that if you are interested in anything that we talked about today, again, this is AI Insights, which is an early access. It's an add-on. So just want to, let us know that you're interested. We can have that conversation and talk about how to add that to your account. So let us know if you want sales to contact you, if you want your CSM to reach out to you, or hey, maybe you're new, whether that's as a customer or maybe you're, someone who's looking at us, and you'd like a demo. That is also great. And we would love to give you a full-on demo, because I know Javier mentioned several things today that are feeding a lot of these insights that have to do with just our core parts of our product. And so it may be super helpful for you to be able to see that as well. So please let us know about that. And then with that, I want to go ahead and turn it over back to the team. Got a little bonus in store for everyone. And Suzanne, Javier, who wants to take it?
I don't mind taking this one. All right, let's talk about AI Advisor. So AI Advisor is a new feature that we have in the account today, and it's really great chat interface for seeing a number of different data points and skills across the ActivTrak data. What I like about this is that for users who are in the app and they're going to different dashboards or seeing different things, but they don't know what they don't know, or maybe they're a brand new user that is just in ActivTrak. This makes it very easy to ask questions about data, and about the ActivTrak data, and it will come back with the response right away. You don't have to look for the right dashboard, the right page. It'll do it for you. We've got it set up with a number of different skills, really looking at utilization, at compliance, productivity, schedule adherence, things like that. And we're adding more and more every week or two. So it's starting to give you some really good insights on how your teams are performing, who's working the best, which areas have room for improvement, whether or not a team has capacity to take on an additional project, or at capacity and you need to justify some details on why you need an additional headcount for that team. I really appreciate the clear metrics. It's got some pre-canned questions in there that you can use, or you can just start asking your own and it'll remember it and it'll come back to it. So I'd encourage you to take a look at that now. It's in the majority of accounts today, and we'll be happy to help you with it. Do we have time for a quick demo?
Well, this is a very exciting component. Just want to add that, we show you a lot of us understanding the impact of AI, the usage of AI, where you go with AI next. This is us using AI on our own data to make it easier for you to understand and interpret the data and take action. And this is becoming the standard everywhere. So we're very excited to give you this capability because people are, let's just say, have no patience anymore for just reports. They're like, okay, I want to ask my own flavor of the question. And yes, I might have the double click with the report, which we'll add soon to Work Advisor, the deep linking into the report behind the answer. But people more and more are just like, just give me the answer. And so we're super happy to share this with you all and allow you to get the answers quicker. And as Suzanne mentioned, we're going to keep enhancing this for the next few quarters, adding more and more capability with the aim that any report or any data that you have available in your account, depending on the plan that you're on, will be answerable through Work Advisor, right? So that everything is available there. And if that's all you own, and I'm looking now at leaders and managers or maybe leaders and executives that don't have the time to learn a new dashboard, let them use this.
Yeah. I've been hearing that quite a bit. The admin doesn't have time to train everyone or to keep reiterating where to look for a particular thing, which report is the one that they need to use. So leadership and managers can really go in there and start using it right away. I do see a question in there to see whether they have access to it or not. You'll see this in your app as Ask ActivTrak right on the top right underneath the name of the company. And it's right there. You can click on it. The majority of accounts have it today.
Well, with one
you
caveat.
You have to enable it. You do have
you need to enable it as an admin.
Yeah, your admin has to enable it. And so, to make sure that you do have it. But Suzanne,
it's an AI feature. So we need the admin to opt into it, given the nature of the feature. That's the only, I guess, friction point that I will mention. So reach out to your admin and ask them on that. It's available on, there you go, thank you. It's available for accounts that have the Essentials Plus plan or the Professional plan. And so that is what you will see there. And the admin needs to go there where Suzanne is going to turn on that for any of the roles that they choose to give it to or make it available to. And
that's right. Yeah.
will access data with your viewable group information so that you only see the data that pertains to the teams that you can see data for.
Great.
Absolutely. It follows all of our privacy and our data controls that you have across the platform. Right now, you can see what is fairly common for the first couple of usage where just the admin has access as they're evaluating it. And then you can give access to the rest of the organization. Once it's available for the role and enabled for the account, you can just go right up here to Ask ActivTrak and see. So we have a couple of different things. We've got some prompts that are already in there, or you can write your own. Here's a couple of examples of ones that I have done in the past, like where should we add additional staff to support team performance? And so it looks over the time period, gives you exactly which teams have some burnout, who are at risk. So you can see some of our data science teams, product team leaders, really sustained some high non-scheduled productive hours over the past 3 months or so. You can get into the teams that have capacity so they can take on more work, or those that are underutilized. So they are just really low in how they're working. So we have an opportunity to shift some of the work around so that way these teams have have lower utilization and these teams are brought up a bit. And so it's really interesting. I personally, so if I go to a new chat, I'll use a number of different things like who has excessive unscheduled absences, which teams have those. And so it's going to go in there, analyze any time off, whether it's paid, sick, what have you, and see, we have a technical issue on this one. So we're going to, let's look at the specific team instead of that one. Oops, I'm in Claude on accident. Let's see. Who on the product team has unscheduled absences? let's see if Javier and I are showing on this list. But this should be going in and taking some of that information on how we've integrated our time off and then start to show it today. Okay, so we do have a number of absent days across the team members. And you can see, okay, well, Misha, she's brand new. She just started a couple weeks ago, so that makes sense. Daniel just left. This makes sense. Jeannie, okay, she's one of my employees. I need to go look into why she didn't have approved time off for the days that she didn't work according to her schedule. Same thing with John. Both of these are mine. And then Amani had a few of those as well. So it's giving recommendations, showing the data, giving some information for, and this is even highlighting on PMM, these two are on that team, highlighting why their capacity was lower during that period. Well, it's because there was a bunch of absences. So it really pulls together all of this information and makes it easy for you to understand what's going on with your team, have that visibility, but also give some recommendations on why we think this is happening and how to help your team come back on track.
Okay, that's awesome. That's great. We will make sure that we send also links to this resource. We'll also add them to this dashboard under resources as well, so that you can have access to our KB articles and things like that can also help you with understanding fully. And then again, just mention to your admin to enable it, because that is required for this type of thing again. And I wanted to just let y'all know that pretty soon we'll have our next session up, which will be August 13th. And that session is going to actually be exactly on using AI to analyze your ActivTrak data. So we're going to really get into it in that session. And so, if this was interesting to you, we're going to, dive even more into, where are we with this work advisor at that point? Because that's, I think 3 weeks away, 2 weeks away. I think it's 3. And I know we're making progress every day on adding new things for this. We're also going to get into some other things. So I highly encourage you, watch your inbox for that invitation. That'll be August 13th. We'll have that up very soon. And I look forward to seeing y'all then. But in the meantime, if we did not get to your question, we will make sure that your account team follows up with you. I think there's a couple of open ones we will make sure you get followed up with. And otherwise, other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Thank you, Javier and Suzanne. Really appreciate your time and sharing all of this amazing stuff that we've been working on. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you all. See ya.